And good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Mighty Men Thursday, and we're going to have some special guests on in the next hour, but let's get into it. I've been starting a new trend here on the show, and that is Kids Corner. So I want to start with that video.
Not satisfied with your life? Then watch this video until the end. This story is going to change your life. Once upon a time, a crow was very unhappy with his life. One day he started crying while sitting on a tree. A monk was sitting under the tree. Just then, a drop of the crow's tears fell on the monk's cheek. The monk raised his head and saw that the crow was crying. The monk asked, "Why are you crying?" The crow said, "Oh, wise one, I'm very upset with my life. No one loves me. People shoo me away in disgrace and don't give me anything to eat. Everyone hates me. Death is better than such a life." Hearing the crow's words, the monk's heart was filled with compassion. He said, "We should learn to be happy in whatever condition we are in." But the crow didn't understand the monk's words and kept crying. The monk said, "Don't be upset. Tell me, what do you want to be? I can make you that with my mantra." The crow became happy and said, "Oh, blessed one, if you want to do me a favor, then please make me a swan." He said, "Okay, I will make you a swan. But first go to a swan and ask whether he is happy with his life or not. You go and find out, and until then I will wait for you here." The crow happily flew away to meet a swan. The swan was swimming in a pond. He went to the swan and said, "How beautiful you are. You are as white as milk. Everyone loves you. You must be the happiest bird in the world." The swan said, "No, my friend, I'm not happy. There are so many beautiful colors in the world, but I don't have any colors. White is nothing. I think the parrot must be the happiest bird in the world. It's so colorful." Hearing this, the crow flew away and reached the parrot. "Oh, parrot," he said, "you are so colorful and beautiful. You must be the happiest bird in the world." "No, my friend, I'm not happy. People keep parrots in cages. I'm always afraid that someone may hold me and lock me in a cage. I think the peacock is the happiest one. He is more colorful than me." Hearing this, the crow flew around looking for a peacock. He finally found a peacock in a cage in a zoo. Hundreds of people had gathered to see him. After they left, he approached the peacock and said, "Dear peacock, you are so beautiful. Thousands of people come to see you. Look at me when they see me. They immediately shoo me away. I think you are the happiest bird on the planet." The peacock replied, "I always thought I was the most beautiful and happiest bird on the planet. But because of my beauty, I'm entrapped in this zoo. When people pluck my colorful feathers to make decorative things, it hurts a lot. I'm not happy, my friend." The crow was surprised to hear this from the peacock. He asked him, "If you are not happy, then who is the happiest bird in the world?" The peacock said, "I have examined the zoo very carefully and realized that you, the crow, are the only bird not kept in a cage. People don't try to catch or entrap you. For the past few days I have been thinking that if I were a crow, I could happily roam everywhere. I could be free." Hearing this, he came back to the monk. For the first time, the crow was happy to be a crow. He said, "Oh, wise one, I don't want to be anything else. I'm fine as I am." In our lives, we often make unnecessary comparisons with others, become sad, and curse ourselves. This leads to a vicious cycle of unhappiness. You should learn to be happy with what you have instead of looking at what you don't have. There will always be someone who has more or less than you. If you keep comparing yourself with others, you will never be happy. A person who is satisfied with what they have is the happiest person in the world. Don't compare yourself to anyone in life. If you do so, you are the saddest person in the world.
Yeah. Truer words never spoken, right? Contentment. Yeah, we can make that the word of the day. Being content with who you are and loving yourself, right? Yesterday, we talked about how we can contribute to others, but we first have to be happy with ourselves, right? So we have something to give. So I hope that settled on someone's heart today as we get into more of the news, which is kind of heavy, which is why I like to start it off with something good, set the pace and tone for our mind. Love who you are and be content. You know, that's a good thing. And Spud McKenzie says, "Good morning. Great message. Thank you so much, Spud. Good morning to you." And Spud is joining us from YouTube. So thank you to everyone joining live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. All right. So now we're going to get into it. Let's start our day with immigration. Um, I came across this particular article on all sides. And I wanted to start with that because it said shaping the narrative, how major media outlets cover immigration. And, a couple months back, talked about how, in my opinion, they kept making it more of a Latin and Hispanic issue. And I thought, that's kind of weird. Why are you making this particular ethnicity and demographic the face of immigration when there are lots of people who illegally immigrate to the United States and they're not of Latin descent? Like, what is really going on? And so the article talks about, for the 8-part shaping the narrative series, which is what this is. All sides examined how often national news media outlets covered select topics on their homepages, including the economy, the Trump administration, politics, international news, immigration, and crime. And so for prevalence on the topic of immigration across outlets analyzed, going all the way from the left, center, lean right, and all the way to the right. The Associated Press, 19%, ABC 17%, Breitbart 14%, Washington Examiner 14%, Washington Post 14%, Fox News 13%, the New York Times 11%. And this is the percentage of how they cover immigration. Um, MSNBC 10%, Newsmax 9%, Reuters 9%, Huffington Post 8%, BBC 5%, Vox 5%, Wall Street Journal 5%, New York Post 4%, and the Wall Street Journal Opinion 4%. In part 4 of this series, we're breaking down coverage of immigration. Some key findings were outlets rated as left and lean left by all sides emphasized on their homepages coverage on immigration court cases where the immigrant received a legal win. And right and lean right outlets emphasized coverage on immigration court cases where the Trump administration received a legal win. Center outlets covered immigration the least on their homepages on average. Right and lean right outlets typically covered stories on immigration in relation to crimes. Left and lean left outlets typically covered stories on immigrations in relation to systemic abuses they may receive. Like, you see a lot of people out there saying ICE is kidnapping people or they're doing this or they're doing that. It's interesting how people that have committed crimes here illegally and now they're being arrested are being looked at as victims. You're not a victim. You came here illegally. You broke the law. It's time. You had the opportunity to leave and they told you, if you are here illegally, you will be removed from this country. And you had the opportunity to use the app to self-deport. And if you did not self-deport, you just wanted to wait around and find out. So which news outlets covered immigration the most or least? Um, Again, Associated Press was the most. New York Post was the least, and they lean left. So how are left and lean left outlets covering immigration generally covered immigration the most out of the biased groups. In this coverage, these outlets typically focused on court case decisions that provided wins for the defendants and losses for the Trump administration. These outlets often slanted stories to focus on the controversies of deportations and opposed to any potential justifications or arguments for the deportation of undocumented immigrants. Now, the wordplay here, we've got to remember somebody that's here that's undocumented, they're here illegally, they broke the law. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's not necessarily true because there are people that seek asylum, right? And there are people that are refugees. But here's the thing with asylum seekers, if you are seeking asylum, you're supposed to go to the next nearest country to you. So, how did you get from Honduras to the United States when there are other countries near Honduras that you could have went to, right, that are in South America? You bypassed Mexico, which is another country, right? And you just somehow got here to the United States. And then the excuse is, well, you wanted a better life. No. If you are truly seeking asylum, you go to the nearest country. If you wanted to come here legally to the United States, you come to the proper port of entry. Mexico is not that. Crossing the border illegally is a crime. So when you say undocumented, it's a very loaded position, in my opinion, because you have to ask further questions to find out who these people are. Because they literally came into our country unvetted, completely unvetted, which puts everybody at risk because you don't know who these people are. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what their intentions are. They're just here. And that is not good for the rest of us that are legal citizens here. And good morning, Dr. C. Thank you. She says, greetings, founder. Greetings to you too. So, ABC News that leans left bias published the sensational headline, Nothing Has Been Done. Judge slams DOJ in case of wrongfully deported man. Across the outlet's coverage of immigration cases, it emphasizes the angle that the deportations were done wrongly and erroneously. Examples of word choice bias. It also often focused on the side of the defense for immigration cases, an example of bias by viewpoint placement. And, people have had their different reasonings of why people are championing undocumented individuals. Some people say, hey, they're trying to create a new voting bloc. Definitely, this was put in place for replacement migration through the United Nations um, process that they put in place in the year 2000. So 25 years ago, they started working on this, and they are on track for 2030, unfortunately. But they weren't counting on Donald Trump running for president when they put this in place in the year 2000. And he's thwarted some of their progress. I will say it's been slowed down because, yes, there have been deportations. A lot of people, they say, well, immigrants, they don't make up that much of the population. Why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal because you allowed people to come here unvetted and you allowed them to break the law, and you continue to allow them to break the law, and you have local municipalities writing policy, right? And they don't have the right to write any type of immigration policy. It's actually illegal. It goes against the Constitution. The only branch with the ability to change any type of immigration laws is our Congress, House and Senate. And they haven't done it. And the funny part is, Congress and Senate will always say, well, it's broken. Well, then fix it. It's your job. According to our Constitution, that is your job under the naturalization process. States cannot just decide if they want to change immigration law. It doesn't work that way, but it's been allowed. So there's a difference between it working and it being allowed. They've just done it. And no one's stopping them, even though they're in violation of federal law. Section, what is it? Title 8, Section 1324, harboring illegal aliens, and also Title 18, Section 111, right? When you impede a federal officer or official from doing their jobs. So what are we doing? What are we really doing? But I like the fact that all sides has pointed this out and just how the news has been carried out. And it says, how are center outlets covering immigration? Center outlets covered immigration the least and often focused on legal perspectives about the rampant deportations. However, much like left and lean left outlets, center outlets typically quoted court cases that provided criticisms of the Trump administration's methods of deporting immigrants across the country. Well, they're here illegally. They've broken the law. I mean, what else are we supposed to do? Okay. So with that, let's get into our next video.
Federal agents firing tear gas to break up a violent protest in Chicago.
This standoff in the street happening after 2 illegal migrants from Venezuela were arrested for allegedly ramming their vehicle into a Border Patrol SUV.
Todd Pyro joins us with more. Todd.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be getting better in the Windy City. Good morning to all three of you. Illinois Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker blasting federal agents for using tear gas to disperse violent crowds of anti-ICE rioters. Pritzker saying, quote, ICE is recklessly throwing tear gas into our neighborhoods and busy streets. The Trump administration must stop their deployment of dangerous chemical weapons into the air of peaceful American communities. But those protests were anything but peaceful. Prior to the deployment of the tear gas, Chicago police were trying to de-escalate an anti-ICE mob when people in the crowd began getting violent. Chicago PD confirming the incident, saying, quote, individuals began throwing objects at the federal agents, at which point the federal agents deployed tear gas into the street. Now, this mob began to form after the arrest of 2 illegal migrants that DHS says rammed their vehicle into a Border Patrol SUV and then attempted to flee the scene. The driver and the passenger involved in the pursuit were Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. The driver, an ICE fugitive, who was ordered to be removed in August of last year. Once the 2 were taken into custody, that crowd began to form. DHS saying, quote, the incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of illegal aliens violently resisting arrest and criminals ramming cars into our law enforcement officers. Back over to you.
Right. So is the governor going to say that it's okay that an illegal immigrant rammed into an ICE official? Did they make any sense?
I mean, at this point, Brian, he may not be saying it's okay, but his omissions and his actions sort of against the ICE agents more or less condone it. And that's just horrific.
Yep, not supporting them.
Yeah.
That sets the climate. Thanks, Todd.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, from what I just read to you, the coverage, and I just showed you this video. Look, I'm not sure why people feel emboldened. Oh, that's right. See, back in 2020, when those riots popped off, those quote unquote peaceful protests where they were literally burning down cities and they were pushing the police around and the police had to retreat. And even I think there were some police in some areas, they took a knee. Like it was weird. It got weird. It got really strange. The interaction between the police and the general public. And now the general public just thinks that they can just do whatever they want to federal agents. I was like, you do realize you can go to prison. Like, not like jail, prison, federal prison for years up to the violation. And the people that they caught, one of them was already ordered to be deported and the other one was here illegally. They were specifically targeting these people and those people tried to ram their car into them. Like, what are we doing? And you've got other people trying to help them. See, this is where I'm like, you need to shut it down. Like, you need to have a whole paddy wagon that shows up with ICE that can lock up about, 20, 30, 40 people and shut it down. And when they see that paddy wagon, they'll be like, okay, we'll be good. We'll be over here peacefully protesting, but they were throwing objects at the officers and at the ICE agents. This is what the officer's testimony was. That's why they used the tear gas to disperse people. Like Pritzker, you need to get a handle on your state, sir. It's out of control. It's falling apart. It's a failed state at this point. It's failed. Because your citizens, you've got part of them actually believing that people are being disappeared. No, they're being deported. There's a difference. They need to go back to their home country. As far as I'm concerned, you need to send them to El Salvador, to that president. You need to send them to that jail. Like, that's the jail they need to be sent to, where they're going to serve some time, because they need to understand you're not going to come here illegally. Okay? Because, see, Venezuela, they don't want those people back, if we're forgetting. Yeah, they sent all these people over here and they don't want them back. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So let's get into our next video about immigration.
News for sponsoring this video.
Just really putting a strain on the business. We did modify hours to keep, the employees safe.
This video captured the 5th time this year Mark's has been broken into or vandalized.
So California's theft epidemic, it's just gone from bad to worse. And thieves in this sanctuary state are no longer targeting just high-end stores where they can steal millions in minutes. They're now raiding places like delis and hot dog stands, which sometimes have empty cash registers, which reveals the criminals of this sanctuary state will not stop until the entire place collapses.
An intersection takeover in Bellflower, quickly turning into a burglary free-for-all. New video shows the moments overnight that things at the intersection of Woodruff and Artesia got out of control.
The thieves break the glass at the door and then start rummaging around all 3 places, going to the cash register and then going to the back room.
What are they stealing?
Wine.
No kidding.
About 10 bottles of wine off the shelf.
So no cash or anything, they're just coming for, wow.
Yeah, the big windows are expensive, the doors are even more expensive.
The fact that these criminal rings are targeting small business owners, local entrepreneurs, some of our most beloved local businesses and families who we support and care about is just infuriating.
Those responsible hopping from a gas station to a beauty store, breaking into ATMs and cash registers. This business owner saying he's now facing at least $10,000 in losses from the break-in.
One thing fueling theft in California is that if you sell what could be stolen property on the sidewalk, it won't wind you up in jail. And what nobody wants to admit is that if you can offload goods anywhere you want on a blanket anywhere in town, theft at small businesses is going to go through the roof, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Sure, theft is also high at jewelry stores, but the thieves raiding those places aren't selling gold Rolexes on the side of the road somewhere. That would be too suspicious, too traceable, and they'd get tracked down. But when it comes to bottles of wine, detergent, bags of potato chips, and energy drinks, well, if you can immediately offload those for 50% off anywhere you want, it makes sense that those items are leaving small businesses and never returning. And the crazy thing is, burglars are now targeting places that don't even sell products you can remove from the store and resell on a towel. A chicken place got robbed recently, a hot dog stand, a deli, and it now looks like thieves in California, a sanctuary that harbors criminals and federal fugitives, have brought about the end game of progressivism, because even a store with 0 products has things of value inside and may have other items worth taking as well. Perhaps there's money in the register. Perhaps there's a safe full of valuables, or a computer, or a cell phone, or someone's passport, revealing that when you're a full-time criminal in a no-consequences environment, it makes sense to break into as many places as you can, because there's a market for just about everything. And that brings us to the real reason no business is safe here, even if it has a safe. We're talking about a place that protects criminals and illegal immigrants. And if you're going to encourage lawlessness of all kinds, of course you're going to have crime problems. And even if these criminals get busted, theft here is just a misdemeanor in most cases, which means nobody goes to jail for, say, breaking into a local business and causing thousands of dollars in damages because the amount they stole wasn't quite big enough. Even though the act of breaking into some of these businesses is closing down places progressives think shouldn't have a crime problem at all.
Their name is about as recognizable as their famous orange dome-shaped building. Mark's Hot Dogs has been in business since 1936, nearly 90 years of serving East Side San Jose. But owner Mark McLean says a rash of burglaries is making it hard to keep the doors open.
A hot dog stand. Why is a hot dog stand getting robbed repeatedly? Well, the answer is simple. There's nobody around to stop the crime, and the criminal's not afraid of anything. But this is turning into a statewide epidemic that has residents and local business owners on edge, wondering if crime is this bad today, what are they going to be faced with tomorrow? And sadly, as you're about to see, some of these places won't even be around tomorrow to find out. Right after we find out about today's video sponsor.
Video shows the burglars smashing their way in through the glass front door. The founder and owner of Dinah's Chicken tells us the suspects quickly realized there was nothing to take after seeing the open register.
There's no money at a chicken restaurant. We take it home or take it to the bank. We don't leave it here for you to take.
After the burglars tore up Pearson's office, Glendale police say the duo smashed their way into El Pavo Bakery 2 doors down. They did it one last time next door at El Ruby Cafe.
So here you got criminals who just broke into 3 businesses and they didn't even find anything, but they didn't even care. You know why? They were passing by, they saw a bunch of stores, and they figured, you know what? Nothing is gonna happen to us if we do this. Nothing did. And you know what? These guys are probably going to break into more businesses. But even though these criminals came up empty-handed, guess who the big loser is here? This wasn't a wash. These businesses all have to repair themselves now. And they had to shut down for a few days while their places got cleaned up, all the broken glass removed, while their interiors were redone. It's just an absolute disaster. And yes, do these places have insurance? I'm sure they do, but deductibles exist. And if their premiums go up because they now operate in a high crime environment, even if these thieves leave empty-handed, the businesses are still worse off after the break-in. Look at this.
Where they again found an empty
Look at them,
register.
they got a crowbar.
It's frustrating, especially when it looks like they're young people.
Police say the suspects only got away with food from the 3 businesses in this strip mall. Investigators are trying to get fingerprints from what the suspects touched and find the car they were seen in on security
They don't
video.
even care. This is a strip mall. You got nail care, you got coin-operated laundry, you got restaurants that have food and nothing of value inside, but these places are still getting plundered. But apparently at the chicken place, it's revealed that the thieves went through the back office, which means they were rummaging around. What do you usually find in an office? You find details of employees, you find social security numbers, copies of people's driver's licenses, passports, you find money, you find banking information. So there may have been more going on here than meets the eye. And these criminals, they still may have left with information they can sell to hackers or scammers out there on the dark web somewhere. But sadly, some of the other burglaries that have happened recently have an even less sophisticated ending in mind. Look at it.
After they've been repeatedly smashed in by vehicles.
They sell chips and
this
soda.
is the 3rd time we've been broken into within a year.
What are they stealing?
Wine.
No kidding.
About 10 bottles of wine off of the shelf.
So no cash or anything, they're just coming for, wow.
You know, the big windows are expensive, the doors are even more expensive, and of course, we're incurring the expense.
What maybe ends up as a few $100 in wine stolen costs Antipastos around $5,000 to repair each time.
That's crazy. So these guys have spent $15,000 in repairs to protect $300 worth of wine that's been stolen over a 3-month period. That's not survivable. You can't survive that. And the problem is the amount of products that the criminals are stealing that qualifies as a misdemeanor. A couple $100 worth of stuff, we won't jail that person. No, we'll let them stay out on the street. That's why these places are getting cleaned out. The criminals get a free pass when they do this, but the businesses don't. And it's the damage these criminals cause to the rest of the store that's shutting these places down. I mean, they would almost be able to stay open and survive if the criminal showed up and had a shopping bag and the people in the store just said, here, take what you want and just leave. Just don't break anything. Like, if they were to surrender to the criminals, they might almost have a better chance of staying open. How ridiculous is that?
And other small businesses are not immune. We reported on the jewelry store robbery that occurred just a few weeks prior to the Antipastos incident. Many in the community want to see more done to prevent these crimes from happening.
These are our neighbors that are being attacked. Our city has grown, and we need to keep up with that growth. We need to have more policing. We need to have more protection.
Councilmember Peter Ortiz represents this district.
Okay, so she says the city has grown. Who are these new residents? That's my first question that are breaking into these businesses. But the other thing is, if you had a jail and you filled it up with these people, they wouldn't be out here doing this. Do you think these guys, or this guy right here stealing bottles of wine, you think these people got up one morning and said, gee, I'm either going to put on a suit and tie and go to the office today, or I'm going to steal bottles of wine. These are my two options. Which one am I going to pick? No, these are people that have done this before. They smashed their car into the door of this place. These are experienced criminals. And why are they experienced? Well, because nothing's ever happened. Nothing's ever been done to stop them from doing this.
But regulars say crime in the area has become a serious problem.
Right down the street, we've been having a lot of car break-ins and where we live at.
Oh, yeah?
We should have a better police monitoring of this area.
I don't know why we're having all these hits at these restaurants. It seems like we're not the only one that's been hit.
Mark's Hot Dogs isn't the only San Jose staple dealing with burglary issues. We told you about Antipastos and their recent thefts. It's a trend that San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan calls concerning.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. But look, if you're not sure why businesses are getting broken into, you can trace it back to the fact that none of the people breaking into anything have ever been taken off the streets. If those people that are experienced enough to break into a place multiple times in a row, that are experienced enough to crash a car through the front door of a place, steal stuff, and run away, people that are willing to do that, if they haven't been taken off the street by now, they're just going to keep doing it. None of what we're seeing here is normal. And all of these activities that we're witnessing, these aren't first-time offenders. If they get caught, maybe it's their first time getting caught. But these people didn't get up one day and say they're going to ram a truck through the window of a store. No, what happened here is the system in California taught these people that escalating levels of criminal activity are perfectly acceptable. You know why? Because people can go to a gas station and they can clear that place out and the cops don't come. And then they can go to a deli and they clear that place out and the cops don't come. They could break into 3 businesses in a strip mall, clear them out, cops don't come, and then they could break into a jewelry store if they want to. And you know what? Maybe then the cops come, but the payoff was so big and they've got so much experience, it was almost worth the risk. This is how these criminals are thinking.
This is home security video from just last night outside a home in the Cambrian neighborhood of San Jose. As you see, they calmly approach the parked cars and without breaking windows or locks, begin rummaging for valuables.
How'd they get in?
One neighbor, who asked us not to use their name or face, said he couldn't tell for sure, but believes he might have seen them outside his home late last night.
Case in the
There were
place.
some kids in there. One was out of the car, one was in the car. And when they saw me, I yelled at them, get out of here. And one of the kids jumped.
So this is the same thing that we saw taking place at the chicken place. People broke into these cars, rummaged around, and left. Just like they broke into the chicken place, went for the cash registers, didn't find anything, rummaged around in the back office. Maybe they found something, maybe they didn't. We're not being told. But it's the same type of activity. People are practicing their criminal skills on businesses, on apartments, on vehicles parked out in front of apartments and homes. It's ridiculous. Everything that can be broken into here, it's going to get broken into at some point in time. And you know what? Those cars that are getting rammed through the front of businesses, where do you think those cars come from? This is where they come from. People's driveways. Those are stolen vehicles. But apparently, since we don't want to punish break-ins, we're also teaching people how to become expert car thieves in the state of California. By decriminalizing crime and punishing nobody, we've given people all the tools they need to get a master's degree in crime in about 6 weeks.
Another neighbor also captured video of break-ins. In this one, you can hear sounds of the break-in. This is the second time in a week people here contacted NBC Bay Area to tell them about a rash of car break-ins. Several people said they were victims and that this isn't the first time their vehicles have been hit. San Jose police said at that time they were not aware of any burglary ring operating in the area. They did not respond to our request for comment today.
And so, you know, the biggest problem, and Cash, you know, he continued, and I'll post the video. The biggest problem with all of this, it comes back to the policies. So even though the council, you know, members were saying, hey, we need more police, you're going to handcuff those police, because if you had allowed the police to do their job, these people wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now. If you hadn't written policies to say, hey, it's okay as long as you steal below $500, you wouldn't have the issue you have now. It's your policies that have gotten you here. But you want to say, oh, we need more policing. No, you don't need more policing. You need better representation in office and in council, definitely. You need better people in office, but you need to stop it with these policies that allow criminal activity. That's the problem. And to further that, individuals that have written these quote unquote policies, in my opinion, in these cities, they need to go to jail, because they're reaping a lot of the havoc on these business owners. I mean, what do you want? Just a destitute city where there's no, because the, you know, business owners can't stay in business. Is everybody just supposed to go to Walmart and Target? I mean, what are we really doing? What are we really doing? Because that's where people are going to have to shift if that's the only thing that's open, where they're going to buy groceries or food, right? Because you can't go to a restaurant if it's constantly being broken into. Like, what are you really trying to do? You know, they're really trying to destroy America. It's really crazy. And Spud McKenzie said, model minority citizens. Oh, yeah. And Duckister, thank you so much for reposting the stream and joining us this morning. Uncle Coolwater, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us. And Mark from the Soil, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us. And AB says, why hasn't ICE pulled my application? I don't know. But follow up. Definitely follow up, because that is always a good thing. And so I've got one more immigration video before we quickly get to parts of the government shutdown and get an update on that.
Political theater may have a lot of opportunities for television and such, but it doesn't get the job done of fighting crime.
It is shameful. You don't run and hide if you're proud of what you're doing. That's what ICE is doing.
Illinois is going to use every lever at our disposal to resist this power grab and get Noam's thugs the hell out of Chicago.
They told us that this was about the worst of the worst. In reality, they are going after anyone who objects to families being ripped apart and community members being disappeared.
Well, that's Democrats defending the worst of the worst arrested during Operation Midway Blitz. So let's meet some of them and see if Mayor Johnson is correct. This is just a small sampling of those that have been arrested in the more than 1,000 taken off the streets of Chicago. You have this individual convicted of murder, another one, 3 DUI convictions, 2 domestic violence convictions. This individual from Mexico convicted of DUI and arrested for terroristic threats. The list continues. This Austrian illegal violent criminal convicted of sex offender, convicted of sexually assaulting a family member under the age of 6. Another convicted of armed carjacking and robbery. You've got convicted of battery and domestic violence. By the way, are you listening, Mayor Johnson? None of this sounds like innocent individuals who are here illegally committing these violent crimes. It continues, convicted of a sexual assault of a child. This individual from Mexico convicted of weapons offense and concealing a homicide death, arrested for sexual assault of a child, domestic battery, and last but not least, you have an individual convicted of multiple counts of domestic battery in strangulation. Joining us now is former ICE director and federal prosecutor Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, we wanted to lay that list out because it's clearly not the case when we hear Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker saying that innocent people are being disappeared. These are violent, convicted illegal alien criminals.
Yes, and the worst part about it is Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson have done everything in their power to keep those people in the United States, which is totally shameful. And that clip you played earlier, Senator Durbin talking about political theater or whatever, this has been the greatest political theater that these Democrats have ever had the opportunity to get involved in. And it's so shameful the way they attack, malign, defame ICE agents every chance they get, particularly in light of what happened a couple of weeks ago in Dallas. But these men and women are putting their lives on the line to make not only Chicago safer, but to make the United States safer. And despite what Mayor Johnson wants, Governor Pritzker wants, they don't have the right to have their own immigration policy. And President Trump has a responsibility to the citizens of the United States, as well as the citizens of Illinois, to remove illegal aliens, particularly the most dangerous ones.
You said something important there, Jonathan, about wanting a state wanting to have their own immigration policies. This is the fundamental problem with sanctuary cities. States do want to have their sanctuary immigration policies that protect violent criminals, illegal alien criminals, to run loose. But for the life of me, this isn't opining. These are simple facts. Those are convicted criminals. So why are the Democratic leaders like Pritzker and Johnson being dishonest about who ICE is arresting?
That is one of the most shameful things. They are so dishonest. And you're right, sanctuary cities are one of the biggest problems that have caused the most damage to our country in terms of like criminal, victims. Like, we always go back to Lake and Riley. Sanctuary City in New York caused that crime, as well as other Biden policies. But yeah, they're so dishonest about this. But it just shows you how extreme the Democratic Party is on this issue, because they are for full-on open borders, full-on amnesty, and that's a non-negotiable position within the Democratic Party. And we know Governor Pritzker is using this to sort of launch his 2028 presidential campaign, and he has to put himself out there full on open borders, full on anti-President Trump. And it's so shameful that he's willing to put his presidential ambitions ahead of the safety of his residents of Illinois.
Yeah, Jonathan, I've only got about 20 seconds left, but we did have an individual, an illegal alien from India, got a commercial driver's license in New York with no name on his license. How is that even possible?
It's shameful. Yeah, you have these Fanu getting licenses all over the place, and these states like New York, like California, don't even care. And we had that tragedy in Florida about a month or so ago, where 3 people were killed by somebody that got one in California. It's so shameful. We need to make sure our streets are safe. Everything is safe, and illegal aliens should not be getting licenses. We need the safest people out there driving trucks and driving everything else.
Yeah. And, there needs to be some lawsuits. There needs to be a lot of lawsuits. I mean, can you imagine? No name given. Anybody here in the chat? Can any of us just go to the DMV and say, no, we don't, just put no name given on my commercial driver's license where I can operate a large vehicle? You're not here legally, and you are able to get something like it. There are people that actually go to school and get trained for these things. You can't just go into any bureau or department of motor vehicles and get a commercial driver's license. It doesn't work like that. But this happened. And I don't know if hopefully this person has been arrested and taken off the road. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he's still off the road, because, when you're driving on the open highway, and these individuals are driving, tons of material around the country, that's dangerous if they don't know what they're doing, operating such a large vehicle. I mean, this is really a public safety issue. that isn't being addressed, and I hope it gets addressed very, very soon. So with that, we're going to get into the government shutdown. I need to have a conversation with you guys about this because guess what? We're still here. It's still happening. So it says, who's to blame for the prolonging of the government shutdown, right? As the government shutdown enters its third week, right? It's gone really fast. We're into the third week now. Media outlets are continuing to place blame on congressional lawmakers criticizing one or all sides of the political spectrum. Yeah, and they should all be blamed and they should all be held accountable, right? I mean, what are they really doing? So from the right, Fox News, they homed in on House Speaker Mike Johnson stands that despite efforts to ensure military and law enforcement payments, if the Democrats continue to vote to keep the government closed, as they have done so many times, then we know U.S. troops are going to risk missing a full paycheck at the end of this month. Okay. So the outlet wrote that Democrats' rejection of the continuing resolution led to thousands of federal workers being furloughed and several key government services being paused for lack of funds. An opinion writer for the New York Post, that's right, blamed both Democrats and Republicans, asserting it's easier to blame your political opponents for brinkmanship than to admit both parties have racked up staggering debts, which is very true. She wrote of government shutdowns, all they accomplish is distraction, masking the fear far greater debt crisis Congress is refusing to address. Every dollar we borrow today piles new burdens on tomorrow's taxpayers and inches us closer to a full-blown crisis. The shutdown fight may grab media attention, but the real crisis is what's happening when government is open for business. Yeah, very well said. No, from the left, analysis from Politico that leans left said polling suggested Democrats' hardline position to rising health care cost isn't earning them voters' trust on economic issues, even though voters blame Republicans more than Democrat for the federal government shutdown, the outlet wrote. The dichotomy underscores an electoral hurdle for the party locked out of power, even as Democrats hold the line over expiring health care subsidies that could send millions of Americans insurance policies soaring. Voters still favor Republicans on the economy and cost of living. Washington Post, that leans left, analysts said Republicans' stance on the shutdown stems from several kernels of truth that Republicans have woven into a larger argument aimed at tripping up Democrats and forcing them to capitulate. However, the writer also suggests that exaggerated and disjointed messaging from the GOP is why now some Republicans are beginning to voice concerns that their party's shutdown messaging, healthcare doesn't need to be fixed, at least right now for various reasons, is not a cognate as Democrats' message that costs will increase without a fix. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard a lot about this, and this is something that my husband and I talked about yesterday, and I was like, okay, so what's really going on with these healthcare costs, right? And why are we here, right? It's like, get this fixed. And we need to remember that the CR that they wanted to pass was only going to go to November 21st. It wasn't going to fix anything. Okay. It was literally just kicking the can down the road like a little over 30 days. That's it. That's what they were doing. So, I could say, can you send me the links, for the Democrats for the CR? Because I was like, what's going on? So they sent me the CR, right? And it passed the House. So everything is with the Senate, and the Senate voted 55 yays and 45 nays. So they only need 5 more to pass this. But even if they do, we're still going to be here again in a couple of weeks. Like, what are you even trying to fix? Now, the Democrats opposed alternative CR 2882. The proposal would have extended through funding through October 31st, and it also included a permanent extension of the tax credits, which the ACA subsidies, plus additional policy changes. And, I read some of those policy changes. They wanted to bring back public broadcasting and fund them for close to $500,000. What does that have to do with anything right now? Really? Like, why are we even dealing with that? So I said, is there, I asked about a affordable alternative to the ACA. And I'll definitely, send these ideas and links. But they said that there are state-based marketplaces that people can go to for healthcare, like California, New York, Massachusetts, Washington, and Maryland. These states sometimes offer state-funded premium subsidies on top of federal credits, meaning even if federal subsidies lapse, residents might still get help. Okay. Healthcare sharing ministries, association health plans, short-term health plans, direct primary care, right? A catastrophic insurance combination. So there are ways around the ACA. Health savings account for some that do get insurance through their jobs, community health centers, state innovation waivers. So there are ways around, right? Some of these are ACA compliant, some are not. The state marketplaces, they are ACA compliant, and they provide residents of progressive states. So there are alternatives. There is help is what I'm saying. We've got some other things that we can do. And I asked another question. It didn't answer my question. I was trying to find out if the increases, because that was a question. My husband and I were watching a video the other day, and I guess I'll ask, what would the increases be for healthcare if government is shut down past November 1st? That is a question. So what are we doing? Yeah. So that was somebody's question, and I was like, I never thought about that, right? Like, what does happen? Because the insurance companies, they do have to put in place their rates that will go into effect in 2026. And a lot of times, how they say there's open enrollment and everybody's got to enroll now so we can lock in the rates and all those other things. Well, what happens if they don't get this fixed by November 1st? Right? So net premium payments for subsidized enrollees, according to KFF, average net premiums could more than double, right? If they don't fix this ACA. If they don't fix it. Now, the ACA expires in December, right? To extend that program. But if they don't get what they need to get fixed now, that's why they were probably trying to do the CR till the 21st of November, so that they could at least circumvent this part, right? But they're not even getting to that yet. It's like, come on, Congress. So it could more than double from $888 to $1,900 if enhanced subsidies expire, right? Median gross premium increases could rise 18%. The net impact on subsidy recipients Many enrollees could see out-of-pocket expenses rise by more than 75% or more. Range of proposed premium increases, insurance filings fall in the average of 10 to 20%, some requesting even higher increases. So, example, individual earning 28,000 a year. So, under current enhanced subsidies, that person might pay $325 of income. Without the enhanced subsidies, their net premium could rise to $1,500. Wow. Required premium share for a family of 4 at $85,000, right? So the CBPP estimates that with enhanced credits, the required contribution could be 4.5, 6% of income. Without them, it could jump to 8%. So these are things that they need to fix. So I can understand why the Democrats are kind of shouting about it. I get it. But what are you really going to do to fix it? Because, see, everybody's kicked the can down the road with the ACA, knowing that it needed to be fixed, knowing that changes needed to be made, and knowing that at the end of the day, taxpayers and consumers are going to have to pick up the tab. And this is why we need better representation in office. It's like, you guys have to get your jobs done. Sorry. So the drivers behind the increases, loss of enhanced subsidies, and these are government subsidies. The enhanced premium tax credits, which expanded eligibility and lowered payments, are scheduled to expire at the end of 2025, unless extended by Congress. Without them, many enrollees will lose subsidy support or much smaller credits. And so this is why they also asked and said, we want the ACA removed from the CR so we can deal with the ACA separately. And I agree with that, because there are other areas of the ACA that just do need to be overhauled. Underlying medical cost inflation, risk pool changes, policy uncertainty, and pricing conservatism, reset of subsidy structure and household incomes. And what this means for us, right? It's a double hit for many, because both premiums go up and subsidies go down or disappear. The net burden on many households could increase more than the gross premium change alone would suggest. Variation by state and income. States that already offer supplemental subsidies may soften the blow. The increase is much more severe for those just above subsidy eligibility thresholds, or those in states with high baseline premiums. Older or higher income enrollees at risk. People over 50 or with incomes above 400% of the poverty level will be hit especially hard, as they may lose subsidy eligibility altogether. Urgency for congressional action. These projections assume Congress does not act. If legislation to extend enhancements is passed, even during or after a shutdown, many of these increases could be mitigated. And they said that they could run a Georgia projection, which, it's very sweet. That I don't need that part. But yeah. So these are things that are happening that we have to really pay attention to. So I got, of course, another video. And this was filmed, I guess, yesterday, with some of the back and forth between the Republicans and Democrats on the shutdown.
People are wondering when the Senate Democrats are going to end their temper tantrum and vote to reopen the government. Every day that goes by, there are more and more Americans who are getting smaller and smaller paychecks, people who work for the federal government. Now, fortunately, the Trump administration has been able to make sure that our troops, our military, gets paid for a while longer, but there are limits to what they can do. And you're already seeing, and I'm sure you're going to see more, there have been thousands of flight delays across the country, and the longer this drags on, the more of that you're going to see. So what the Democrats need to do is to vote for a clean, short-term, nonpartisan funding resolution sitting at the desk right now in the Senate. I've showed it to you before, 24 pages long. All they have to do, we pick it up, we vote on it today, we send it to the president signs into law, the government reopens, and then we can be happy to have all the conversations the Democrats want to have about other issues. But they will have a 9th opportunity today to vote to open the government. They had an 8th opportunity yesterday, and they will have, if necessary, a 10th opportunity to reopen the government tomorrow. All we need are 5 courageous Democrats with a backbone who aren't afraid to buck their leadership, who are marching them right over a cliff.
Here we are on day 15 of the Trump shutdown. That's right, it's now over 2 weeks since Republicans shut the government down because they refused to negotiate and fix the health care crisis that they themselves created. In fact, House Republicans haven't been here doing their job in weeks. Thousands of federal workers continue to work and not get paid. House Republicans continue to get paid and don't work. Meanwhile, open enrollment starts in 2 weeks. Americans will have to choose plans that send this cost skyrocketing. Millions of New Yorkers are going to get these notices. Tens of millions of Americans are going to get these notices. And they're just going to say to themselves, what? How am I going to pay this? But you know what the alternative is? Having no health care. And imagine parents thinking, what if my kid gets sick? And there's no health care for them because I can't afford insurance and I can't afford the cost out of my pocket. So these are not just numbers. These are people who are suffering and going to suffer even more.
And this is the problem when you put healthcare in government. It's an issue. Because I just read to you, what could potentially happen. But here's the problem. If they would have just separated out the ACA, they could actually be in negotiations with the insurance companies right now because the ACA doesn't expire until the end of the year. What he's not telling you is how they want to go back to the pandemic spending levels of the ACA. Why would we have to do that if we're not in a pandemic? Like, what are you talking about? What are we doing here? What are we really doing here? So I pulled up, and I've got a guest waiting in the wings that we're going to have right after I share this with you guys. But here's the Continuing Appropriations Act. Okay. And so here are some of the issues that they brought up: public health extenders, Medicare, Human Services, Medicaid, the FDA, No Surprise Act. Now, if they're just trying to extend the budget again till the 21st, okay, why are you putting all of these ACA measures in here when that doesn't expire till the end of the year? Keep it separate and keep it easy and do that so that you can actually have those negotiations separate from the appropriations bill, because that's what you're actually trying to pass. You're trying to get the fiscal year done, but you were still kicking that can down the road till November 21st. It's really sad what they are doing. And a lot of the conversation will go back to, well, on the Republican side, it's, they just want illegals to get health care. And on the Democrat side, it's like, they're just trying to take away your health care. Okay. The Republicans aren't wrong. They keep wanting to give mass amounts of care to people that are here illegally. They are undocumented. They are here illegally, but they have some type of status, quote unquote, that allows them to be here, that they created for them, right? Under the former administration. They need to stop that. And you need to really focus on fixing the ACA. That is far more important. Now, under the last, when Trump was in office before, they took away the mandatory tax that had to be paid that said you had to have insurance. And if you didn't, you were penalized for it. So they removed that penalty, which is great. But it still hasn't lowered the cost of health care in mass. And this is where I say, okay, government, you've really failed at helping. But now we're here, you're forced to have to fix this. Or it kicking the can down the road, it's just not gonna work anymore. It really, really isn't. And so with that, we're going to get into our Mighty Men Thursday segment with our special guest. And welcome to Mighty Men Thursdays, where we are having our Mighty Men Thursday special guest. And this individual is running for mayor of Stockbridge. He's very young, and I thought it would be really cool just to have someone at the local level on to, ask a few questions and see why he wants to run for political office. So I'm going to bring him to the stage. Hello, how are you? I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Oh, go ahead. Now let's
Can
do
you
it
hear me
again.
now?
Yes.
Awesome. How's it going?
Good, good. Please introduce yourself. Let us know where we can follow you, what position you're running for. I think I kind of let the cat out of the bag on that one. And then we'll get into a topic of your choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jaden Williams, and I'm running to be the next mayor for the city of Stockbridge. I have proudly served the city of Stockbridge for over 8 years in multiple capacities. The last one was actually the chair of the Planning Commission. I've served in the state of Georgia in multiple capacities from my time at Clark Atlanta University, from at City of Atlanta, from the NAACP for over a decade. And I'm young, but I've done the work. Um,
Good.
so now I'm running for mayor to just firmly believe in what we can really change for the city of Stockbridge, and that's making sure we're pulling open opportunities in housing, supporting young people's dreams in whatever career path they want to do, and not just career job fairs, but also making sure we have equal and fair opportunities right here in the city.
Okay, great. One of my questions to you is trade jobs. That's been a very hot topic here on my show. And, just to hear that you're talking about, getting training, have you thought about, bringing trades or maybe having some type of training of trades in the city of Stockbridge?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I actually want to do is to find a way where the city can create career pathways with our residents. And so that doesn't just include having job fairs, but we actually have a department or a committee that helps them through their entire process. And so that doesn't just include corporate or educational jobs, but that also includes trading jobs and trade school. If people want to go to trade school and don't know where to start, we will give them those opportunities. And since trade is in such a high rate right now, where people want to
Mhm.
do trade school because it's easier, they can go
Right.
in, come back out really quick, get their degree, and actually get to work. We want to make sure we advance in those opportunities as well.
Okay, great. That is so good to hear because, college debt is what it is, but not everybody really wants to go to college, right? I'm just
Yeah,
saying it's not for everyone. And with trades, you can actually become a small business owner
yeah.
and have a little bit more flexibility in how you operate. Are there any other things that you would like to see done within the city of Stockbridge?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm not sure if you're familiar with how we kind of operate some things here in the city, but I want to do a lot, and especially going back to our ordinances, where some of them haven't been changed since 2013, and the other over 50 years ago in the late 1900s. So there's a lot of redeveloping and restructuring of the city of Stockbridge that
Mhm.
we really want to see. Now that we've become or been deemed the largest city in Henry County, we want to make sure that we can accommodate and showcase the look of what Henry County is. And that just, for me, that doesn't say that we're taking away. Um, I guess what we're calling like our rural area. You know, a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, oh, we're a small little Cottonville city. But we can be both. You know, we can have certain districts and certain areas that we kind of put together to make sure that we're showcasing what Stockbridge truly is. So definitely changing our ordinances, definitely making sure people are feeling feeling included. We went from having an all white mayor and council to a white and black mayor and council to an all black mayor and council, but we
Right.
were worse off here where we are now than we were back then. So how can
Mm.
we continue to bring that diversity and not even continue, but how can we bring diversity and opportunity back to our city?
Now that's interesting how the ethnic demographic shifted, right? Which you would think would be more positive. Like, what do you think the decline happened?
I think the decline happened when our mayor and council said we need more people like us and more things for us to do, and
Mm,
forgot the sight that when you're elected, you don't represent one color of people. You
okay.
represent every single person that deems themselves a resident of the city of Stockbridge.
Okay, okay, but that's fair. Now, that has been brought up a lot on my show. I do live in Stockbridge. Now, I haven't seen too many issues within our small town or city regarding illegal immigration. I think just within the state of Georgia as a whole, there's a better handle on it and the expectation that, if somebody is here and they've applied for citizenship, that there's a pathway for them, right? I just don't think
Mhm.
I know there is some illegal immigration here. I'm not saying that we don't have it, but I'm just saying within our city, I think, I just haven't seen it. Is that something that is an issue, or do you think that's something that needs to be addressed within the city of Stockbridge?
Yeah, I actually have to stand with you and say simply it's something that is just not visible here. I
Mhm.
don't think that
Okay.
issue is as popular in these southern state or these southern counties around Georgia.
Okay.
I think it is something that the state level I think would probably take over more before our municipal levels would here in Georgia, just
Right.
kind of how we operate.
Okay.
I mean, of course, if it was something that was to happen down here, I'm sure our local levels would get involved.
Okay. And then the other issue I wanted to look at, or it's not an issue, but topic, I'll rather say, with police departments. Now, this is something just around the country because, you didn't watch my show earlier, but like in states like California, New York, Illinois, they wrote policies, unfortunately, allowing people to steal, up to a certain point. And I know even in the city of Atlanta, it happened like at a Lululemon. There was an employee that was fired because they called the police on someone who was committing theft within the store. Again, not something that I've seen here in Stockbridge, but I just
Mhm.
wanted to, just ask your opinion, like, if you were elected mayor, that's a very important relationship to have as far as the police with the mayor. And where do you see setting some policies to make sure that businesses and residents are safe in that area?
And let me be honest with you, this is one of my favorite questions.
Okay.
Because my mom has served
Okay.
almost 24 years in the U.S. Air Force. And so
Wow.
service in the law enforcement realm is kind of something that is near and dear to my heart. And I'm just going to be upfront with you. While I'm glad that we brought a police department to the city of Stockbridge, our own police department, I should say,
Mhm.
maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think what the current elected officials forgot was that they wanted to do it because everybody else had it and they wanted it. But what they failed
Mm.
to do is make sure that we had proper trainings in place, proper budgeting in place, proper opportunities for our law enforcement to also get the grasp of connecting with our community. The chief has done an amazing job with trying to adapt with what he has. But as mayor, one of the things I definitely want to do is to sit down with the chief and at least a good chunk, because I still want them paroling while I'm talking to him,
Mhm.
is just to see what they need and see what the city can actually do. I don't want to over guarantee them something that we can accommodate,
Mhm.
because as of right now, they're over 66% of the current city's budget. That's
Okay.
concerning to me because what if we need some roads repaved? What if a natural disaster comes in and we need to
Right.
do something? We can't because 60% of our budget is going to towards the police department. some of our savings is going off to pay off an amphitheater, and we don't have the wiggle room to say we can accommodate our citizens. And so I really do look forward to working with the police department and making sure we can find some safety avenues. I'm 1000% for having police in our community, but I'm also 1000% behind making sure we have community training and mental health awareness to making sure our officers are safe and making sure our community safe.
And I appreciate you saying that, especially about community, because that's a big thing for me. I have relatives that have served as police officers, sheriffs, and their sons and children are actually serving now.
Yeah,
Is we've gotten away from community
yeah,
policing, right? Where Officer Tim or Robert or Sean, you know what I'm
I'm
saying?
with you.
Where you can call them if you see something weird going on in your neighborhood, and you'd be like, hey, there's something strange going on here. Do you know anybody that's patrolling in the area? And you feel safer because that police officer is more so your neighbor, as opposed to it's just this random officer who might come in who you don't know, and it becomes more of the us them situation, as opposed to
Absolutely.
as a community we're really here to help each other and solve the issues, because there's somebody who's not a part of our community who may need to be removed, right, or investigated or apprehended. We don't know. But to me, without that real solid community relationship, policing is kind of lost. I mean, I think that's where I got from your response.
Yeah, no, you hit it right on the nail. And I grew up even here in Stockbridge, where we had community policing. I remember Officer Johnson like it
Mhm.
was nothing. He knew my mom, my dad. If something happened, he knew who to call.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to get back to, that site. And I know we're not as big as City of Atlanta. We're not as big as DeKalb, so we can still have that form of community policing. But I have to also give kudos to our chief of police and his lieutenants, because they make it to where we have the same officers patrolling each district at night or in the morning, in the afternoon, different shifts, to make sure that the people know exactly who they are. And when our council members, when they have town halls, that officer is there to show face and just say hello, so that they can also get to know who they are. And that was something the chief did, but it's something that we need to do moving forward, because that is what starts that relationship between community and police and our police officers. Even when, let's say, their kids walking from the bus or going to the park, they know
Mhm.
their officer, they know their car, they know the car number, and that's how we start to build that bridge.
Right, right. Yeah, because even when I lived in Irvine, California, I had a officer come to my house and I was like, "Is everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah, everything's fine. I just wanted to tell you about, what your kids." And I was like, "Wow, thank you." You know what I'm saying? Like he made an effort, to really reach out, because a lot of officers are not going to do that. And he was just like,
Yeah,
just talk to him, I just saw some things going on, and you're the mom, but I want to let you know what's going on as well. And I was like, "Wow, that's amazing," but it doesn't happen everywhere. And
yeah,
it needs to be more, I should say, the norm than the exception, right? Where we have that relationship where a police officer, if they needed to stop by because they had a concern or they had a question, it wouldn't be like, "What have I done? Why am I in trouble? Why are you here?" It'd be like,
right.
"Oh, hey, so and so, what's going on? Is everything all right?" And starting the conversation up at that, level. So, thank you so much. Now, is there anything else about you that we should know? I know that early voting has started here in Stockbridge, so we can vote for you because you are running this term. And it's interesting because around the country, like there's literally a mayoral um, campaign or election going on every year, literally every year.
Every
So,
year.
so this is
And
2025.
yeah, and I unfortunately, ours is on the off year. We don't get to be
Mhm.
with the big guns like when the president comes through. We have
Right.
our own ballot. But
Yeah.
what I will say is, of course, I think one of the things, and I'm sure many voters have already kind of made their decision on who they're voting for, but anybody who still does not know, they can go to my website at www.jaden, spelled JAYDEN, forstockbridge.com. You can learn about me, learn about my platform, and then you can go to jadenforstockbridge.com/vote and find your older voting precinct. We really want to get our numbers to be high. We want this to be a historic election, not just because we're electing somebody young like myself, but because we're getting out to vote.
Right, right. And I appreciate so much your energy, your efforts, because it is important and you are the next generation of those coming up in politics. And I just really appreciate all that you have done. So thank you so much for joining us here today on Unfiltered Vision News.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Okay, so that was Jaden, and I will definitely make sure to have his link in my repost on X. And hey, contributions can still come in to his campaign so he can continue to, have his foot soldiers out there door knocking and making awareness for his campaign and his run for mayor for the city of Stockbridge. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it?
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols. In our last segment for Mighty Men Thursday, we had Jaden, who is running for mayor of Stockbridge. I know he looks a little young, but I think that is a good thing that we actually have young people running for office, because we always, sometimes say, oh, young people, they're not interested in politics. And what are we going to do? Well, you actually have someone interested. We've got somebody interested, and we need to make sure that we are giving that young person our support. So definitely, like I said, I'm going to put his website in the chat so you can reach out to him if you have questions. You may not live in the city of Stockbridge, but it's still okay to make that connection and ask questions. And something that he actually brought up that was very interesting when he said that being that the ethnicity changed in the city, what was forgotten about were the rest of the residents, right? Regardless of their ethnicity. And it's good, to take care of your own, but you can't take care of your own and not continue to take care of everyone. And I was like, wow, well said. Well said. Because we can do both at the same time. Right. But when you make it so blatantly obvious that it's like, okay, we're just going to take everything for us and nothing for anybody else. It's like, okay, well, that's not good either. Right. There has to be balance. So his position is nonpartisan. So he's not running as a Republican or a Democrat. And a lot of people don't understand that about mayoral positions within municipalities. They are nonpartisan. Okay. So they can't run with either party because they have to be for everybody, for the people, which is a good thing, which I definitely appreciate. So I definitely wanted to get back into where we left off with this wonderful shutdown that we're in. Now, their next meeting is going to be today at 2:50 p.m., right? We can see the actions that they've taken so far. So it's upon consideration. So their last vote, the last go around, they have 51 to 44. I thought they had 55, but hopefully they'll get closer to 55. But it's up. It's up from 45. I'm just saying they're getting there, right? They are getting there. So I'm really hoping that their next voting that they will get, everybody will kind of get to a better place, because at the end of the day, this all falls back on the American people. As Chuck Schumer said, the members of the House, they're getting paid and they're not working. Or they're not working because you're holding things up in the Senate. You can't blame this on Donald Trump, sir. He doesn't control the Senate. but you have say in the Senate because you are in the Senate. So stop trying to, do the sleight of hand and, get us acting like we don't know what we see in front of our face. Like it's really disingenuous at this point. But I definitely wanted to look at Medicaid and what they're trying to do, because they're delaying DSH allotment reductions. And Social Security Act is amended. So this is a section that they are amending for Medicaid, modifying certain disproportionate share hospital allotments. Again, they want to fix certain parts of the ACA, but they want it to go to pandemic level spending. I don't know what that's about, but that's what they're trying to do. It's really strange. It's really strange. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA is in here. Monograph drug user fee amendments. Let's see some other issues in here. There was one issue that I had that I saw, and I thought it was really strange. Human services. So I was like, okay, why did it? This was what stood out to me. Human services, sexual risk avoidance education extension. Huh? But that's in here, right? So I pulled it because I was like, what does that even mean? And apparently it's regarding maternal and child health services block grant, right? Sexual risk avoidance education. Sexual risk avoidance. Okay. It just like some of it doesn't make sense. Like you can have sexual avoidance, like you're avoiding sex. That makes sense. But what is the risk in you avoiding sex? I guess I was like, I have to say it all the way out loud to have it make sense. And it says for the purpose of description of subsection, fiscal year from 2018 to 2023, right? The portion that number of low income children in the state bears to total such numbers of children for all states. But it's a weird section. I'm like, why are we here? Why are we even dealing with this? And so, like I said, I pulled it because I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it, honestly. And I don't know why it's in there for funding when literally all they had to do was pass the CR till November 21st, right? That's all they had to do. And then they could then at that point in time, between now and then, discuss the ACA, what they wanted to do, negotiate the rates so that, premiums don't go higher. Like they need to get a lot of this done before November 1st. So it's really not affecting anybody in a completely negative way. But it's just weird. And Uncle Coldwater says, unfortunately, everything is on Donald Trump, federal and state. Well, thing is, he can't control what other people do. He really can't. It seems like he can, but he can't. The legislative branch is actually over the executive branch. They have more power than the president does. They really do. Now, as far as him negotiating and people, falling in line of what he wants, that's totally different. But he doesn't have that kind of power and control. It's legislative, executive, judicial. That is their pecking order. So that's why the president has to, ask Congress. And it can be an ask, but Congress does not have to do anything he says. That's why they always say that an independent could never be the president of the United States because if there's an independent and there are not enough independents within Congress to support the president, right? Nothing may get done because they could totally rail against him. But then that would really show that they don't care about the American people either, just like it's happening right now. So, so just to, finish up this little section because I thought it was weird. Except for research under paragraph 5 and information collection and reporting under paragraph 5, the purpose of an allotment under subsection to a state or another entity in the state pursuant to subsection A2 is to enable the state or the or other entity to implement education exclusively on sexual risk avoidance, meaning voluntarily refraining from sexual activity. So they have like a whole thing on this. Like, what are we talking about? And what are you going to be teaching these children? And why are you teaching? Like, this one is a why for me. And it's in here. I mean, it's here in what they are trying to do. Like Medicare improvement by striking this from 1 billion to 664 million, right? In Social Security. And this is for a fiscal year. It's the things that are going on. It's the stuff that we don't see. But I encourage everybody, and again, I'll add these links when I repost so that you guys can definitely check this stuff out. And Uncle Coolwater says, I should have said that's what people feel that everything is on Donald Trump. Now that's very true. They do feel that everything is on his shoulders, right? And you should fix this. And that's why, I definitely had to be educated on the difference between the federal level, the state level, and the local level, and how at the local level, our lives are really impacted on the day to day. And that's what people assume that Donald Trump is able to do, but he cannot touch you at the local level. At the federal level, there are things that can be done, and he cannot do everything. But to Uncle Rock's point, yeah, it's that expectation to fix it, right? And it is fixable. So we have another guest for Mighty Men Thursday, and I want to give him the same introduction. So here we go. And we are back for our second special guest for Mighty Men Thursday. And he is also running for office within Henry County. So let me bring him to the stage. Hey, how are you this morning? How you feeling?
Hey, Dr. Nichols, can you hear me pretty good there?
I can. I know you're a little bit under the weather, so we won't keep you too long, but thank you so much for joining us. And if you could tell our audience your name, where we can follow you, and we will get into a topic of your choice and also which position you are running for.
Yes, thank you so much. And I appreciate it once again for having me here. I am under the weather, but I'm going to try to make this very clear as I can for yourself and the viewers here. So, yes, my name is Antoine Cloud, and I'm running for Stockbridge City Council, District 2. Uh, you can find, excuse me, you can get my information off of my website at Antoine Cloud. That's ANTWAN Cloud, CLOUD.com. And also, I can be found on all social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram primarily, and also TikTok under that very name as well, Antoine Cloud.
Oh, wonderful. Again, like I said, I won't keep you too long, but if you could just share with us a little bit of your platform and what you would like to see for the city of Stockbridge.
Yes, absolutely. So, my platform is composed of 3 P's, and that consists of the preservation, the protection, and the perseverance of the citizens of Stockbridge. And so, uh, basically, when I talk about those things, when I say preservation, I'm talking about the enrichment of the culture that exists in District 2. So many people don't know that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his father, King Sr., is actually from the Stockbridge area. And so he actually has his first church, I believe, that he started is called the Floyd Chapel Baptist Church. And it is located in District 2. And it, you know, we know about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And what he did, but I always say people, he came from somewhere.
Okay.
And so it's really important that we acknowledge that and what he did for the community. And before they moved on to Ebenezer and all of that, it started right in Stockbridge, in District 2, as well as those that are familiar with the area. The first um, black owned restaurant in the city of Stockbridge was from a woman named Carrie May, and this was in 1940. I believe that restaurant was founded, and it still is brick and mortar, and it exists today as the Green Front Cafe.
Okay.
And so and these two things you can look on my website, and I talk about it in my platform. But I encourage people to do their research on the area, and those are two proclamated entities that will come up that we need to not only preserve, but we need to illuminate for everyone. So, as the next city council, I have plans to make sure that a broader perspective is put on those two important things there to the area. And then moving on to protection. So we still have our great, but also newly formed Stockbridge Police Department. And I think it's important as the next city council that you be a advocate for funding them, because they're going to keep you safe, and then, the officers need to know the residents by name. They need to treat everyone with respect, and they're going to hold regular counter meetings to, get to know the residents and things like that. But you want to make sure that that connection between the community and the officers happen. Nowadays that's really, really, really important. As well as talking with preservation. Now, when I used, excuse me, perseverance. Now, I use the word perseverance with great purpose, because perseverance basically means getting through things and challenges with despite the challenges. And we know that, getting to the future is going to have its challenges. That's just kind of nature. But when it comes to uh, being the next city council, there's some things that you have to keep in perspective. One of the things is traffic improvement. So widening our roads, possibly looking at traffic signals for a busy area that we call Tie Street, and making sure that those residents can get in and off of that street safely. We already have cones at Flippin Road, which,
Okay.
if you familiar with Flippin Road,
Yep.
there's a lot of traffic that goes
It
up and
is.
down there. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're looking at doing that. I'm an advocate of that. We have $6 million in SPOS money allocated just towards Ty Street and the Martin Luther King Senior area alone, which is currently being gathered. And with that splash, we're going to improve the water system, the stormwater system, street lights, sidewalks, things that are really, really, really important to the community. And we just need a leader to get in there and push that kind of stuff, as well as with our youth. So we do have our singular school in the district, which is Smith Barnes Elementary School, but we also have a um, $73 million STEM school that is being built right, not in the district, but it's right on the border. You can literally get there off of Ty Street and Martin Luther King Sr., but
Oh.
it's within visible distance. So I'm definitely a supporter of that and will help them any way I can. We've got $10 million coming in SPOS money that's currently being collected to help with our new recreation center that is uh, being built, and it's for the youth and the seniors as well. The plans have already been drawn out, but once again, we just need a leader in place to be able to push that initiative. And then finally, affordable housing is something that's really, really important now, and we know it's going to be important to the future. Obviously, we've got a lot of unknowns that are coming as far as what's going to happen with inflation. We already know that Stockbridge has been a hot pocket for residents coming there, and so how do we ensure that we keep things like our millage rate the same, and make sure that housing just it remains affordable, because we also in that district have a lot of seniors, and we need to be able to protect them and say, hey, look, we're not going to push initiatives that are that's going to gentrify the area and make it unaffordable for those who laid the foundation for the area. So I've got a pledge to make sure that that doesn't happen, and also part of my pledge is to not force those seniors out due to rising taxes. And I want to push the initiative of actually freezing their property taxes for low income residents in the city, which would probably encompass a lot of the seniors because they're on fixed income. So
And that's something that people don't really talk a lot about, right? I know in Florida, they were like, we just want to get rid of this tax. It's like, well, why don't you just stabilize it? Right? Just
right,
make it flat.
right,
You don't
right,
have to
right.
pay.
Well,
So everybody is still, assisted. But if you're 89 years old and you don't have any kids in your house, maybe you shouldn't be paying $3,000 in taxes for the school. I'm just saying because you don't have kids.
right. Exactly. And we know that there's a lot of things that are tied into the millage rate.
Mhm.
You actually have recommendations that come down the line for the millage rate before it even gets to the city council. And so there's a lot of factors in that. But one of the things that I tell the residents when I'm going door to door is that we've been able to keep our millage rate at 3.77 with obviously the recommendation coming from the council to keep it that way. um, but we also need to keep in mind that if we want to improve the quality of life around the area, we need to we've got to have people to spend money in Stockbridge. So there's a counterbalance to that to say, well, if we don't want to raise property taxes, we need to make initiatives that where we can get the funding, since it's not coming from millage. We've got to get people to come here and spend money. So
Right.
I'm a really big proponent of bringing business here, possibly partnering with a few of the Fortune 500 companies, in which this is what I envision, to have satellite areas here, because the number one industry in the area is healthcare. And that's obviously connected to the Piedmont Hospital that we've had here for a while. But a lot of people don't realize is that even in the healthcare industry, there's it's directly tied to the IT side of things, which I'm an IT consultant
Okay.
by nature. And so I understand the connectivity there. And I think that there's an opportunity in Stockbridge in District 2 that we can maybe get some satellite facilities here and create some jobs as well as generate revenue here, not only for the residents, but for the small businesses that are around here.
Okay, like a small IBM satellite office so people don't necessarily have to
Correct.
drive from McDonough
Microsoft,
to,
Google, yes.
Sandy Springs. They can just go to work right here in the area, and to your point, that keeps the taxes here in the area.
That's
Um,
correct.
Now, do you think with certain tax breaks that companies get, would that make an adjustment or no? Would that play
Uh,
into that?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, that's just part of the economic development, right? So if you want, you know, those entities to even consider the area, there has to be certain breaks that you can probably give, to a certain extent. Hey, if you're bringing a certain amount of business or employees here, or just even if you can give breaks on um the land opportunities, or something like that. There's some kind of way, and I believe that they already have some initiatives. I think those initiatives are towards the downtown area,
Okay.
but we can make that universal throughout Stockbridge, because everybody wants to live in Stockbridge, but nobody wants to spend their money here.
I know.
And so that's why I said it has to be that counterbalance. But I think that it's kind of hard to talk on that when you're not internal. But there's something that we can do, and I'm a proponent of that. So.
Okay. And then one other question, and this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Like my bonus son, he plays basketball
Mhm.
and he played AAU and he was travel basketball. And so he would go to all these different places. And in
Mm.
Cartersville, they have this huge multiplex that handles basketball, volleyball, baseball. I mean, I don't want to say any kind of sport you can imagine, but it's huge
Mhm.
acreage of land. Do you think we could have something in Stockbridge similar to that, and would that be maybe a money generator because those sports usually happen year round, sports complexes like that?
Right, right, right. Well, right now, and like I said, it's just part of the initiative that I'm pushing, which really should have already been developed. But we have a $12 million youth and senior recreational center.
Mhm.
Like I said, the plans have already been done. The renderings are there. It needs to be built. So I think that that's the first step,
Okay.
and getting that. Now, as far as that being a mega complex, I really don't think it's slated to be that, but I would not be opposed to that in the future. I know in District 2, the land space and opportunities are limited.
Mhm.
So, as far as development around there, you have to kind of consider mixed use development and stuff like that in buildings that already exist.
Right.
In order to do a megaplex, you're probably knocking something down. And so, it's something to be considered. But I think that we really need to start with this youth and senior recreational center, just to ensure, and keep the residents, let them know that, hey, look, we're doing something. We know that these things are important,
Mhm.
and so we'll just kind of have to expand from that. But the opportunity is there, and I'm not opposed to that, to answer that question.
Okay, that's great. And I have another question for our audience. He says, is he going to be offering any opportunity zones, I guess, for mixed use concepts that would be business and livable that could generate some form of economics in the area? And I think what Uncle Coolwater is asking is, sometimes you have those live, work, play
Hmm.
areas that are economic generators, but people can live in those same places, similar to the Avalon that they
Right.
have, or downtown. Gosh, the name is escaping me. But
Atlantic
it's in
Station.
Mid Atlantic Station. Yes, something
Yes.
similar to that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's actually part of my platform, is to pick, to push those narratives. I think we also have in Stockbridge, we've got the Jodico Station,
Yes.
which is also a model of that as well. And with that being said, the limited space and opportunity that I talked about, you actually have to go that direction
Mhm.
if you want to boost the residents, keep the housing affordable, and have an economic impact to what you're doing. So, yes, building up. If you go down North Henry Boulevard, turning into 138, you will see many businesses right now that are either vacant or have um, some spaces that are not being occupied and things of that kind of nature. And so I would love to be able to get with the administration once elected to see, especially the Economic Development Board or the Community Development Board, and see if we can contact these owners and say, hey, look, is there anything that the city of Stockbridge can do to assist you in possibly filling these vacancies, or if there's land opportunities there, can Stockbridge have a plan with that will be a economic generator. Even with the buildings that we have now, some of them can be redeveloped and rezoned to build up on top of them. So maybe we can build condos and things like that on top of these buildings with it being permitted and safely, and still have those stores and things like that, and small grocery stores that we have at some of those areas, to where residents don't even have to leave the building per se. They can go right downstairs and get something to eat, get their groceries, and do other things. So I'm definitely a proponent of that. And just to kind of tie something else into that, that's actually a enhancement for the traffic in the area, right? When people
Right.
don't have to get on the road
Right.
and go different places and stuff like that,
It's
they can do
walkable.
everything right. Yeah, they can walk. They can just get down there and just walk, and people really enjoy that. And like I said, it keeps our roads clear and also safer because we don't have as many people traveling on them. So to answer that question, yes, and I'm a proponent of that, and we'll push that initiative.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And I'll definitely make sure to put your link in the repost, and that you're on X. That's really great because there are a lot of people that join me here on the program that are on X. So I'm hoping people will reach out to you. And it is early voting. So if you do live in Stockbridge, definitely
Yes.
check out
Yes,
your
it is
website
early
and get out and
voting.
vote.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. If you don't mind, really quickly, early
Of
voting
course.
did start October the 14th, and it goes through the 31st. We do have 2 Saturdays that are allotted for voting, and that is this Saturday, the 18th. Those times are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have one Sunday, I'm sorry, and the 25th, both times are 9 to 5 p.m. We have one Sunday that you can vote, and that is this Sunday, the 19th. And those hours are from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. At Monday through Friday, you're able to vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I encourage everyone to get out there and vote. Let democracy ring. Let your voice be heard. And I am looking forward to being your next leader here in District 2. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Nichols.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Hmm. Yes. And so that was Anton. And I will make sure to add his link in the repost. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News on Mighty Men Thursday. And we will see you in the next one.